Hello, hi, Professor. Our topic is cloud computing. This is our team. We are four of us are going to record on based on this topic, cloud computing. So, first of all, I want to tell why we are going for cloud computing because the present we are most probably whatever the data is there, we are storing in cloud, and we can access the data from one system to other system irrespective of any network, whatever the data is there, it's totally depend on the storage. Basically, what's the cloud means? So the cloud refers to the software and services that run on the internet instead of locally on your computer or hard drive. Like for example, whatever the if you want to store the data in a hard disk or hard drive, irrespective of that hardware, we can store data on cloud only. It's totally software part related. So here are the few examples of storing data. Some of the cloud computing services are include Google Drive, Apple iCloud, now Netflix, Yahoo Mail, Dropbox, and Microsoft OneDrive. For example, if I get it out, like where is the cloud, like where we are storing this, whatever the data is there, in that place, the cloud space exists on individual servers found at data centers and server farms around the world. Data center and colocation providers offer server space for cloud computing. Are we? If I have a question for you, like, are we in the cloud now? Yes, definitely, because most of us started using storing the data in cloud because we can access irrespective of anywhere, any system, any hard drive. Like we can access this data, audio, video, text files, whatever might be in this in their format, we can store in cloud. These are all questions you have probably heard or even asked yourself. The term cloud computing is everyone else. The definition come to what is cloud computing means in simple terms, cloud computing means storing the data and accessing the data programs over the internet instead of your computer's hardware. This is known as cloud computing. In terms of networking, cloud computing is a phrase used to describe a variety of computing concepts that involve a large number of computers connected through a real-time communication network such as the internet. Why it is called a cloud? Why not the other name? So here, if I because we can see the cloud means we can see in the sky, like it will be on a layer, it's on sky blue. So in that same way, like the cloud in real time, so compared to software, the cloud is just a metaphor for the internet. It goes back to the days of flowcharts and presentations that would represent the gigantic server farm infrastructure of the internet as nothing but a puffy white cumulonimbus cloud, accepting connections and doling out information as it floats. So here is the architecture of the cloud computing. In cloud computing, mainly we have three types of platforms. One is application, and the second one is platform, and third one is infrastructure. In application, we have five applications. One is for monitoring. We here as an example, we have five applications in application layer. One is monitoring and other context collaboration. For example, combining for one application to other application. Communication is nothing but the using for audio, video, and chat purposes. And finance is nothing but for financially we are representing in the graph or pictorial format, a bar format. So in platform we have five types of platforms. Object storage, like we can store the data in object storage format, and identity format, a runtime platform, queue, and a database. Whatever the storing in the format, like in database. In infrastructure, we have three types of infrastructure as example shown here in cloud computing. One is compute, and another is block storage and network. We can access these application platform infrastructure through mobile phones, laptops, desktops, and tablets through server. Like because one server is connected to the other each and the other format the device, so we can access in this. The cloud computing services means what are the services in cloud computing? We'll get to know in detail. Like for example, in cloud computing, providers offer their services according to several fundamental models: software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. This is the important one because we'll get to know in detail later. Whereas infrastructure as a service is the most basic, and each higher model abstracts from the details of the lower models. For example, in 2012, network as a service and communication as a service were officially included by ITU. ITU stands for nothing but the International Telecommunication Union, and it's part of the basic cloud computing models. So infrastructure as a service, infrastructure as a service is a way to rent storage, hardware, servers, and network capacity over the internet. Here we are the reducing the hardware manufacturing part, whatever the devices. For example, hard disk is there for using purpose memory. Disk drives, pen drives, we can reduce here. Whatever the data is there, directly we can store in the cloud. The service of this infrastructure is like the service providers owns massive computer resources and is responsible for running and maintaining them. Meanwhile, the clients needs only a computer and internet connection to access these bottomless resources, and typically pays for it on per use basis. For example, in Google, like for 15 GB for each Gmail ID, like we can access till 15 GB whatever the data storing in cloud. If we need more than that, so there is come to price basis. So we need to pay money, and we can use cloud. So basically, the infrastructure as a service, there are 7 main features and components in infrastructure as a service. They are service-oriented utility, automation of administration task, whatever the tasks is there that are related to the administration task, and unlimited resources. We can store up to unlimited whatever it might be. On demand self-service, like whatever is there, like we need to do ourselves, like a pay per using the pricing based on usage. We can pay price in cloud. Desktop virtualization and policy based services. These are the infrastructure as a service in cloud computing. From here, the next part will be continued from my friend Manikanta. The topic is a platform as a service in cloud computing. Thank you.
Good morning, Professor. I'm going to present the remaining part. Platform as an platform services given the possibility to run, to create and test the various applications by using provided tools over the internet. The customer has no right to manage any control underlay cloud infrastructure, storage and services, platforms, etc. But is also able to configure the application hosting and environment and install applications. The advantages of using PaaS are possible to change and upgrade the categories and component of the operating system. Easier to collaborate with and specialize over the world. Opportunities to use resources to over the national border without any crossing it. Overall, the cost reducing by maximizing the expenses of hardware and the programming tools. Incompatible problems are also soon as hard to program it. Disadvantages. Disadvantages are some of the providers may not be moving development software out of the platform, like security issues and etc. Flexibilities of the services may still be insufficient in the meeting the needs of users whose requirements are constantly changing. Software as a services. Software as a services is in cloud computing model, which hosts various software applications and make them available to customers over the internet or other networks. There are also two main software delivery models for SaaS. The given an online access to a single copy of an application and to the host commercially available software and deliver it over internet. The main advantages of SaaS models are no concern about software buying, license, and installing them and maintenance. Automatic updates and patch management, automation of the administration tasks, easily collaborate with other users. Everyone can use the same version of the software. It also worked in worldwide access. Disadvantages of SaaS. Security issues as the data is stored on a cloud. Security has become more and major issue. Latency issues, again, the data is stored in cloud far away from each user. It makes too more transactional time as compared by traditional approach. Total dependency on the internet, rely on the internet connection means the data is transferred to and from an SaaS frame and at the internet speed rather than the potential higher speeds of the frame internal network. The switches become the SaaS vendor is difficult. Switching SaaS vendors may involve a slow and difficult task of transferring the very large data files over the internet. You can see in the picture infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. You can manage application runtime and security and integration database. And servers, virtualization, server storage, networking can manage by the vendors. The platforms are managed by your manager, and you can run by security and database services and virtualization service storage and networking managed by vendors. At last, software can as a service, application runtime and security internal database services, servers, virtualization, server storage, networking and operated by vendors. Next part will be presented by Abhiram.
Hey, hi everyone. So I'll be speaking about different types of deployment models involved in cloud computing. There are mainly 5 types of deployment models that are generally used in cloud computing. They are controlled cloud, public cloud, private cloud, government cloud, and hybrid cloud. Now I'll be briefly speaking about them one by one. So the first model I would like to speak about is controlled cloud. Control cloud services are not publicly available. They are specifically authorized by service vendors. Access to a control cloud is restricted. It is usually done through the internet. However, the connections will be encrypted, and access would be controlled by a cloud provider. Usually, the vendor that provides the service employs various techniques and technologies to prevent unauthorized access. The way a user can access the control cloud is usually governed by different contracts and SLAs, which specify the responsibility of the vendor and the responsibility of customer in maintaining the control environment of the control cloud architecture. Control cloud deployment model. Another type of cloud deployment model is called the public cloud. Public cloud is basically a model in which a third-party service provider manages and stores the computing resources on behalf of the customer. So usually, since it is run by a third party, the third party is responsible for maintaining the cloud's architecture, servers, and all the networks, and maintaining the point of access for the customer. The benefits of this type of environment is that we can scale our cloud infrastructure based on the demand. If in case suddenly we are facing a high number of inputs for a particular application, we can basically scale it up immediately, since it's public and the third party provider is responsible for scaling up our environment. Usually, since this is a public cloud, there are major threat of attacks from hackers. The most common way is a denial of service attack. Examples of public cloud are EC2 instance, IBM Blue Cloud, and Google's Windows Azure platform. Another type of cloud architecture is called the private cloud. This is also called an internal cloud or internal cloud or a corporate cloud. This is usually hosted by customers themselves. It is usually only available to those who can access behind a company's firewall. This is usually good to store private information since the company has control on how this cloud is accessed. It is good if you want total control over data. It has the flexibility of customization and the ability to recover from a failure. And also, this allows you to scale up and down based on the demand. However, since it's your own cloud, you are responsible for the infrastructure and the way infrastructure to scale up and scale down. Another type of cloud deployment model is called the community cloud. A community cloud is usually uh, a type of deployment model which is usually shared by a small organization or a small community that shares the data between them. They usually have very much fewer users than a public cloud. However, they might have more number of users when compared to a private cloud. Examples of such models are usually kind of cloud environments used by libraries or a book reading club in which they can share information between themselves. The last type of model is called the hybrid cloud. It's usually a combination of two or more cloud deployment models, example private or public. The both of them are different and unique entities. However, they are bound together. Uh, they usually hybrid clouds provide high degree of fault tolerance, and we can increase and decrease, scale up and scale down based on the requirement. I'm also going to speak briefly about cloud bursting. Cloud bursting is application deployment model in which application runs in private cloud or a data center, but however, in case the number of hits to the database increase or a number in the number of in case the requirement of database increase, we can increase the resources by accessing the resources of the public cloud. Cloud bursting enables data centers to create an in-house IT infrastructure that supports average workloads and can use resources from public or private clouds during spikes in processing demands. Now my teammate SSP will take over. Thank you.
Hello, Professor. Thank you, Abram. And now we can see the cloud computing sample architecture. So here we have a cloud service, cloud platform, cloud infrastructure, and cloud storage. So generally, what in the services are there, it will be in a queue. So based on the queue and the request, it will perform. For example, we will have a web cloud platform. For example, if you take a web front end, so what and all the request is there. So it will, for example, if you take an application, so it will take the what and all the data required. So it will take from the cloud storage database. And if you talk about the cloud infrastructure, so we have a networking and virtual machines and all the billings and all, it will take place. So if you take as an infrastructure as an automation, so all these things will happen maintained by the cloud provider. As we know that infrastructure as a service in cloud computing. And coming to see now in present world, there are so many cloud providers. If you like Amazon Web Services, Google, Microsoft, Azure, Rackspace, and JustCloud.com, SugarSync, and SpiderOak. And in today's world, AWS are a top leading cloud provider. So most of the companies, they're migrating towards cloud services, mainly to Amazon, because they are having a huge market now. And if you talk about the Google platform, so now they are deploying all the things in Kubernetes and all. So if you take about Windows Azure, so all these CI/CD pipelines are maintaining in Azure. So those are that much flexible for deploying an application, for automating those pipelines and all. And as we have seen what is cloud and what and all the services provided and all, so definitely there will be an advantages and disadvantages. If you talk about advantages of cloud computing, if you coming to the cost, so here how much we can use, so we can pay to that level only. So if you use for 1 or 2 hours any service or any application, so we can pay to that much level only. And multi-tenancy, so what and all the infrastructure created in your cloud service, so same infrastructure can be used in by multiple customers and all. Scalability, so for example, if you have a on-demand scalability to increase to provision your servers and storage, so you can do it easily in cloud instead of buying. And redundancy, accessibility, and maintenance. So accessibility, if you talk about wherever we go, so we can access through over the internet, so that is the best thing in cloud. And maintenance, so you no need to maintain these servers and all, so the maintenance is reduced. Disadvantages of cloud computing, so security, so if you are not secured your cloud, your infrastructure and all, so you may lose the data and all. And dependency, so definitely you need to depend on some cloud provider, all your data and everything. And coming to the flexibility, you won't having that much flexibility. For example, if you're using now AWS, if you want to migrate to some other cloud provider, it's not that much easy to shift from one cloud provider to another cloud provider. And the cost structure is becoming epic. So when you build all your data and all files and infrastructure applications in one cloud provider, whatever they required, so we need to pay them. We can't migrate after doing everything. So it become very difficult in order to migrate. And knowledge, most of the knowledge is concentrated at the cloud service provider. So if you are getting in any issue at the time of running your applications or website, so you need to contact with the cloud service provider and you need to get to resolve them. If you're not having enough knowledge on that particular cloud, so you can't do anything when you're getting any issues. And integration, difficult integrations with their other equipment and systems. So in order to integrate, it is very difficult in cloud computing. So these are all the advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing. And finally, so I can say in today's world, so everybody are migrating to cloud only instead of maintaining all the servers infrastructure. So, and these and all the references we came across, and we did this thing. And finally, thank you, Professor.